Hi, everyone. So I am Shari, and this is Marcel. And this is actually the Level Up with Shari Wilson show. And I am excited about today to talk to a man that I came across on Facebook. And his courage to speak out, his post it touched me and it touched millions of other people because his post was shared so many times on Facebook. Since then, I've seen so many other people speak out as well. That was white, that spoke up and said this was wrong and justice needs to happen. And so I inboxed him and I said, hey, I would love to interview you. And he responded right back and said, we're on. I'm available on Saturday. So I know I wasn't able to really promote this broadcast prior, but I'm excited to be here and talk about this. Me and my husband yesterday, Marcel Wilson, you guys know Marcel. We went out and we was out there with the protesters and so many different emotions, so many different feelings that we had. And this is not the first time one of our people died. This is not the first time that we had to deal with this, but we're tired. We're tired and we have to figure out what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Jason and Kimberly on. Let me bring them in.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Yes, there we go. How are you guys?
Fantastic. How about yourself?
Man, thank you so much for being a part of this show this morning. Again, I came across your page and your post, somebody shared it. And when I read it, it touched me. And so I'm not sure if you have that post up, Jason. Do you have it available in front of you?
I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, if you can pull it up, I would love if you can. I would love for you to read it. Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Thank you. You guys, thank you again for being a part of this show.
I think this might be her first time to do something like this.
Yes.
She's such an introvert.
You know what? Those are the ones who have a lot to say most of the time.
Man, let me tell you.
Writing.
Let me tell you that now. Don't get it started now. That's why I felt like it would be good to bring her in because we have so many discussions on this subject matter. And to be honest with you, everybody's always told me my entire life that you ain't white, you know what I'm saying? Like you got soul, it's something in your veins running through you. And I never really kind of put myself in that category, but everybody else did it for me. And that just shows me that I feel like there's something in me that's not normal of the white culture, I guess you could say. But I do, with no doubt about it, carry that privilege that is so apparent. And I know that, like Kim and my kids, they have to jump through hoops to get what I would get with no resistance. And it infuriates me. And I've seen it my whole life, but I've always been accepted by the Black people on a different level. And
even like when we go certain places.
Yeah, when we go certain places.
Tell them, we're gonna use your white privilege today.
Yeah, I mean, she says that, and it doesn't necessarily bother me, but I know the advantage that it carries in certain situations. I'm not saying that that I'm gonna use it every time or whatever. It's automatic. And what white people don't understand, that it's an automatic. And that's the most troubling thing to me, because no matter how much you try to speak to them about it, they still do not realize it. And until you have someone like myself team up with someone, as her, you guys, and the black community of America, they will have to eventually open their eyes, open their ears, see the cries, and see that it's done. I'm tired of them having to constantly live in fear, constantly work 10 times harder to get something that may be just given to me at that point. And that goes all the way from sports to getting a degree, getting a certain position in a job, and it's disgusting to me. And I do not agree with that one bit. So going back to that
point. You're right on point, Jason. You're right on point.
And I've always seen that, and I've always been one to speak up on it. You can ask her. We've known each other since daycare.
Right.
Since we were 7 years old.
Wow.
So, it was a point. I always had a biggest crush on her growing up. She said that, she didn't really know how to pursue it. I didn't know how to pursue it. I was the white fat kid, with freckles, and she was beautiful, and I had no idea how to approach that situation. And she even said, "I didn't know you like black girls." I said, "Heck,
I told you I didn't know you like chocolate."
Like chocolate, yeah." And I was like, "Oh boy, I've been on it." But it came to light, like God works in mysterious ways, like they always say. And when you got a plan, He's gonna laugh at it because He's got His own plan already. So, later on down the road, we met back up, and it's just been brought to my eyes more than it ever has, having children in this situation.
And that's what we're going to get to as well. We're going to get to that. We're going to get
absolutely.
to that because when I bring my girlfriend on as well, I mean, everything you just said, Jason, it's refreshing to hear you say it. And what I also want to ask you later on is, why is it that you think that other white people just don't see it? Why can't they see it?
We'll get to that. I got a perfect answer for that.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
Okay, I want you to first. Okay, I know we're getting sidetracked, y'all. I'm excited.
So on the post, you want me to go ahead and read that?
I want you just to read the post.
Okay. All right. Well, I stand behind this 100%. I'm not black, but I see you. I'm not black, but I hear you. I'm not black, but I mourn with you. I'm not black, but I see and I know the injustice that you face daily. I'm not black, but I know and I see your fear of your sons and even your daughters. I'm not black, but I will stand with you. I'm not black, but I love you. I'm not black, but Black Lives Matter. And the rest of it was, I don't care how much backlash I get from this, because Black Lives Matter. And I will always stand beside you. And before it's said, no one's disputing that all lives matter. Let's leave that for a time when white people cannot stand fully armed at a government building and not be shot. Let's leave that for a time when a white kid can shoot up an entire church and not be shot. When white guys can chase down and shoot an unarmed black man and not be arrested. That was the post. And I mean, every word of that rings like true through my heart, through my soul.
Jason, what caught me is when you said, I'm not saying that all lives don't matter, but let leave that part.
Right.
When
right. I can't stand it.
Some of the issues that Black people have to face.
Right.
That right there, it just hit it. Before we continue, I want to go ahead and bring Summer on. Summer is one of my good friends, and when I say she's an activist, she is an activist here in Sacramento. Summer, you're on with us.
Hi.
What up, Summer?
Yes. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic.
Summer, did you hear what he just read?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to make sure that you was able to hear that. Jason, what was the feeling? What was you thinking when you wrote that?
I mean, just to be honest with you, I've been feeling that way. I've been, and it just had to be said. It had to be said, and you just have to like put it in order to where it can also open up other people's eyes, not only white America, but to show the Black America that you have an ally in me, at least. I was speaking for myself at that time, with intentions to reach at least 20 to 30 people. That's how I felt it was gonna go. But I feel like God made that completely different, and He spread that message for me as far as He could. I've received messages from France, from South Africa, from Canada, from all over the nation. When these people send me messages, of course there's all kinds of trolls and hate and all that stuff.
Yeah, we've gotten
that
threats and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that
So you did.
We had to change our settings on Facebook and social media because we had people.
Well, you got
going through our Facebook page and looking at our kids' pictures, and it was crazy.
But out of 25,000 shares,
right?
If I just take that and you just take that, but most people have an average of about 400 to 500 people on their Facebook. 25,000 times 400, that's just one person. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how many people either see it, read it, whatever they did with it at that point. You know what I mean? And the message was meant to really just lift the veil and to tell white America that it's okay to stand up and unify, because to be honest with you, it's been spoken for 400 years on y'all's side. And and we're just now getting to the point to where the white people want to be fed up with it. They had to be shown that there's somebody trying to stand up for it. And
some of them were scared.
Yeah.
Some white people
didn't
want to face the backlash.
A lot of white people are scared. Let's be honest. That's the reason they won't speak out, is because they're scared of
losing their white privilege.
Or just scared of what their other white peers will think, and they don't know how to address that conversation. Me being me, and in my heart, I fully believe in what I say. I can address that issue at any time, and I will defend my family, like with everything that I have. If my family wants to bring up, which they have, they're just clueless about it. And I believe that it's going to take some education. It's going to take some conversation. It's going to take some evaluation for the white people to really just start talking about it. Just start coming up and being like, you know what? You are right. Like, we do carry a special privilege. I'm sorry, I never seen that before. I never had it brought to my attention. Yeah, we got accused of it, but you never really stopped and took the time to see the difference of how Black America gets treated versus white America, and whether, if it came down to which it shouldn't. I believe it should all be unified. But that just starts with me in my heart. I can't speak for everybody. But if it came down to it, I know what side I'm on. You know what I mean? And I know what side I'm going to start on. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And once we move closer to coming together like this, I think the time is now. Like, to be honest with you, I really
was 20 years ago.
Right.
It has always been now.
Right.
So, Summer, and I also want to get to Marcel. Let me get to Marcel first. Marcel, you watching that video of George Floyd, and you guys, a lot of the times we always say, okay, we got to teach our Black men how to deal with police officers. We have to teach them what not to do, what to do, how to stand, how to position. And when I watched that video of George, he did everything
Everything right.
Absolutely everything right. He did everything that I would have told my son to do, and he still ended up dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's still dead. So is it a right thing to do? I mean, I just don't get it. So Marcel, when you watch that video, I know that the other day we was talking about it, and you got really emotional. You and your friend in the car, and you actually broke down crying. What did you feel when you saw that? I know we see it all the time, but what did you feel? What made George incident different?
Man, I mean, it's just crazy how, you know, I noticed one thing. I noticed a lot of things in this conversation. Just looking at the screen, I am the only black male or man in this conversation, and I know what I go through. I know what I experience. I know what I have experienced, and I know that the kind of heart that I have. I think my heart is similar to Jason's. Like I have a lot of friends that are, you know, white, Indian. I love people.
Say
you know
for what it is, man. We're all people, though. At the end of the day, man.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I didn't. I'm not. I'll get to that question, but I was going to say with Jason, I commend you, man. I appreciate you.
Got you, man.
On your stance, and when you said that you were interested in a you know, a black woman when you were a kid or wherever, or just growing up, you were interested in the person. She just happened to be African American, and that just says a lot about you. You know, and you're standing in the gap on for what's right. You know, so again, I commend you for that. We appreciate that as black men. This is black people, but the video is crazy. It's crazy because, you know, we experienced a lot of different. I've experienced all kinds of, you know, encounters with police. I've never been to jail. I've never been arrested. Don't have a criminal record, any of that stuff. And you know, as a law-abiding, functional, I would say, asset to society and into our community, all the stuff that we do, I get pulled over and they ask crazy questions like, "Whose car is it?
Right.
Where do you like?" I'm not doing nothing illegal. They snatch stuff out of our window. Just, you know, and you get to a point where it's like what the hell? Like, I'm not doing anything. Right. I've learned to where you know, everybody has a threshold and a breaking point to where when you're just being antagonized and people are asking you questions that are
irrelevant,
very questions, and you just it's like, look, I've learned to say, look, here's my information, go run it. I'm done talking. Because they seems like they try to draw you and pull you out into waters where, you know, they can attack you. And then, you know,
and use your words against you.
But I have friends that are, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 6 friends that are police officers. And I never forget this. I was at a gathering, and I have a friend. He's a sergeant, and his counterparts they're white guys, and we're having this conversation, and they're really good guys. Like, these are good guys. And I was talking to one, and he said, Marcel, he said, and he didn't say it out of any type of malicious way. He said, "You're a big ass dude, man. I mean, I'm 315 pounds, 6'4". He said, if you ever like showed aggression or tried to move the wrong way, we would shoot you."
Straight up.
That's what he said.
And it makes you feel like it's in their training manual or something, right?
Because the black guys
makes you feel like they hand a training manual to a white officer differently than they do to a black officer. And the black officer, and it really upsets me whenever, like, Dallas has a black woman as a police chief. Where's she at? I feel like they're keeping her mouth locked up. They're keeping her under wraps, saying, if you dare go out there and defend your people in this time, we will shut you down. We will blackball you. We will take your entire career away. And she feels so forced not to say something. It's almost scary to me. The mayor ain't speaking up. The mayor is a black man. He ain't said nothing either. Either they're just letting it happen, or they're being hushed by threats of blackballing and everything.
Unless you're Chris Dornan.
Yeah.
What I was going to say.
Say that again. Say that again, Summer.
Chris Dornan. He's the brother that went on that killing spree in Southern California. But he was in the LAPD, and he tried to come forward and expose corruption, and he was blackballed, and he took the narrative from them. Before he did what he did, I'm not saying that he was right for killing these people's family members and stuff like that. But what he did, I was reading it with my dad on the computer when the manhunt was on. It was like maybe an hour into the manhunt, and he had posted we were reading, and my dad was like, "This is a damn manifesto." And it was his manifesto. He took his narrative and he shaped it. He said, "I did not come from a rough background. I did well as a child." He took control of the way that they portrayed him by releasing that manifesto.
Right.
And in many cases, we don't get to tell or shape our own narrative. The media criminalizes these men as though they're just criminals and they deserve this, and they dig up all these things on them. And Chris Dornan took that back.
And we hear that all the time. Well, what did they do? I mean, I was reading through the thread, and they said, well, if he wasn't a criminal, the cops would have never been there. Like, where is these people getting this stuff from?
That makes me all the way pissed off. That makes me all the way pissed off when I hear people say that, he shouldn't have did this or he shouldn't have did that, and then you find white people that's done the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm country, so I say same shit, different smell. The same thing, but they don't get the same courtesy as the white person did. And it just, me and him have these conversations, and I don't understand, especially about the rioting like that's going on now. And I'm like, so I asked, because we got into it with some people on Facebook about the same thing, and I asked one of the white people, I'm like, well, how is it okay that people can storm the White House with guns and spitting in cops' face, the ones that they feel like, can't say nothing bad about the cops, but you going in there during a pandemic, spitting with guns, pushing, doing all this, and these people are considered as good citizens.
They just
and then
go
when
back
black people do the same thing, and then and during the pandemic, on top of that, and no mask, no nothing, yelling in these people's faces, and they're considered as good citizens. But then when black people get tired and do the same thing, then we're bad. Look at them. Look what they're doing to their community. Look at this and that. Like
the president's word was these thugs.
Yeah,
but he the thug.
Thugs.
I've seen that.
And I would say, with that, we do have to, as African American communities across the nation, we do have to hold ourselves accountable as well. We have to up our game. We have to make sure that we're not committing crimes. We have to take some accountability for what we're doing. That way, we don't give them any excuses.
Thank you. You don't give them no reason, man, to keep pushing that crap.
We got to kind of straighten our stuff up a little bit. But like,
really, we don't have to give them a reason.
That's the thing. That makes me angry too, because we always are trying to.
No, absolutely. Like I say, at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of steps that there's a chain of command. I know that there's operation procedures, SOPs, things like that, to where there's some things that you go preventative measures before you pull a gun out and start shooting people or beating people up. And you can see clear as day on these videos. They're just attacking. They're in fact they're forcing themselves on you, doing crazy stuff, and you're just supposed to sit there and take it.
Right.
They're punching people, hitting people, handcuffing them, and you're just supposed to sit there and don't do it. There's nothing you can do anyway. You're in the most vulnerable space where your handcuffs on your chest. What else? I mean, what can I do from here?
Right.
You got cops around. How much pain and pressure you're going to impose and inflict on me, to where so now I'm dead. And what I was going to say about the protest is this: there was a lot of there were kids out there yesterday that they didn't really know what to do. They came up. I was talking with the guy from Coolins Media, this guy that I've worked with before, another brother. We were talking, and the kids came up. They said, "Hey, can you say that again?" are you guys what do you say, community leaders? Like we want to know what to do. We want to protest. We're here for a cause, but we don't know what to do. And what I did see is I was torn at that moment because I seen there were a lot of kids out there that were in the cop's face that were like doing all and I'm just like, that's not the right way to do it. You know, so these kids, they want to be a part of the solution. They want to help. There's a lot of kids that are out there that are really smart.
Our 14-year-old wanted to go last night too, but I was like, I understand, but as a parent, I'm like, I ain't trying to have you go out there and be getting shot up with rubber bullets and all. I'm like,
It's real. We need the leadership, and I'm not going to say the leadership wasn't out in Sacramento, but when we got there, we got there late, but they wasn't there, and it was still a big crowd, and it was a lot of youth, but it also was a whole bunch of others. It was a whole bunch of white people. It was a whole bunch.
That's what shocked me. That's what I told him. I was like, I'm just taken back that so many white people are actually saying something.
Because they don't have a choice at this point.
Right.
Because you know, Jason said earlier that God has a way, or God works in mysterious ways, right? So we're in this pandemic, right? And we're sitting down. There's no more distractions. There's no sports. There's no more Sunday brunches. There's no more.
True.
You can't go shopping. So much Amazon browsing you can do. So God does work in mysterious ways. This pandemic sat you down, and the only thing you can look at is the news. And your ignorance is not an excuse. You know, ignorance is no longer an excuse.
Exactly.
You can't position your way, or you can't take that position. Oh, well, I didn't know. You didn't have a choice but to know.
Exactly.
So that's why you see a lot of others out there, because they sitting at home and they on Facebook and they just blowing through. It's nothing else that they can, you know, they ain't got to take the kids to soccer today. So they just sitting there looking at the news and looking at them, you know, and then they, you know, God does work in mysterious ways.
I'm glad you said that, Summer.
We also have a whole bunch. I'm sorry, Jason.
But
we also have a whole bunch of others that's not going out there, Summer. We also have a whole bunch of, you know, I'm just going to say white folks are sitting on Instagram and Facebook talking about
challenging it.
What they're writing about, and them out there protesting, but they ain't said a damn word about what the cop did to George.
Right.
Because it's like he
deflecting.
Said, they're some of them may feel it, but they're not willing to give up their privilege. They may feel a type of way, but they're not. It scares them to give up their privilege. That they.
And my question to them is when they try to behind the scene give what's the word? When they try to be with you behind the scenes, but they don't like you like I have some white friends that send me messages. And I'm like, well, why aren't you? Yeah, but why aren't you posting about this? Or you won't even like none of the posts that I post about stuff that's going on. But you'll send me a message and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that this happened." But why aren't you saying it? The same way you don't want to get the backlash. That's how Black people feel. We don't like
they fraternize with the very people that are in contrast to what they're saying to you. So they can't out themselves on social media or on a public platform for fear, the same fear that kept me in the house. You know what I mean?
Right.
The same fear that we have, although it's fear, it's just experienced differently. They don't want to be outed. I don't want to. I have children at home. You know what I mean? So my thought process is different. Like if I go out here and I do this, I get arrested. My line of work that I'm in, you know, like I'm jeopardizing a whole livelihood. You know, whereas you know, and I'm always going to be under the gun. I go to work, I open my mouth, I'm the angry Black woman, right? But let's just say, and this is no harm, no foul to Jason. If Jason went out there and no one knew that his spouse was a Black woman, right? And he goes out and he protests, you know, he protests, right? And if he feels like he's tired, he can just kind of drift back in, you know what I mean? And his privilege still moves, right?
Right.
For me, I'm out and I'm out. And when I'm back, when I'm in the background, I'm still out. It's no getting. I'm Black 365 every
all
second
day.
of the day. You know what I mean? It
Right.
ain't no getting away from it. And I told Shari, to be Black is to be a strategist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how you have a
all
political
day
strategist? It's like we got to strategize every aspect of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's exhausting.
It is. It is.
It's so exhausting.
Because there's been times like at my job, I'll come home and vent to him about certain things because we have racist people where I work, and I'll be venting to him, and he's like, "Well, why don't you just tell them to do this and that?" And I'm like, "Did you forget I'm Black? I don't have that luxury to do that. They just." If I do that, then I'm gonna be the angry Black woman, and then they're gonna find reasons from that day forward that I finally voice my opinion or say anything. Then I told him no. Let me just vent to you, because if I do what you're saying, I don't have that luxury to go to work and quote unquote pull a Karen. I can't do that.
And that's where my frustration and infuriation comes from. That's part of the reason why that post got made. Is because when I tell her certain, like you said, certain strategies, because I try to think about it before I give her advice. But what I do forget is that aspect, is because she is a human to me. She's a spirit to me. So I don't really I go in it with almost like, but you're the most beautiful human being I know. So why would they treat you that way?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You work too hard to be taking that, and I'm like.
But the thing is, I haven't had to grow up in that skin. I haven't had to grow up thinking like that my entire life, and it always bothered me whenever my buddies or really my friends, because my brothers, you know what I mean? I manage a hip hop label also, and there's times when we do shows, and they'll be like, "Hey, Gio, go talk to the manager for us." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay. I was like, why don't you go ahead and do this and do that and do this? They're like, Gio, I'm Black. It's not gonna happen. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to assume the position and play the role, so my brothers can still get the same rights that I would get walking into that door. And I'm more than happy to do that. I'm a soldier when it comes to my team. I'm a general when it comes to my brothers, and I will not let anybody treat them that way. I'm not going to make a huge scene in a place of business that we're making money at, but I'm going to make sure that I play my role correctly, that they get the same access I do. And it's just sad that I have to do that.
And that's what I was about to say. I want all the white people that's listening to understand that this is the type of things that we have to do to move in this world.
It's so real. It's so real. Crazy. That's what the white people don't understand, is that it's so real. And a reality that you guys have to live in that every freaking day of your life, 24 hours a day. It is so real. And that's the problem, is white people don't think it's real. They think that you're just complaining. They think that, oh, that's just how you perceive things. Nah, people, that's how it is. That's how it is. And it's the most obvious thing, yet the most blind thing I've ever seen in my life. And it sucks. I'm sorry if I'm yelling. I hope I'm not.
But the most blinded thing.
You're passionate.
Very.
I'm passionate. I'm passionate about things that I truly believe in and I truly care about.
I'm over here like.
And am I yelling? Am I yelling too much?
You're fine. I think you're fine. Sorry.
But
you need that. I mean,
straight up conviction. Like it has to be said. And then if anybody's gonna say it, I'll be the first to stand up and say it. I do not care. And it makes me laugh whenever, because it seems like in that post, I go through the comments. You know, I try to love and like everyone that I can to say thank you, full of gratitude. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll see this random white guy say, "Oh, this is how white people feel whenever they make an anti-white post," and it's got like this person like being lifted up by a crowd. Like I did that to be glorified in some sort of way, and
Right.
that thing right there makes me. And I got homies on there that come on that are white also that have known me our entire lives, from our adolescence to now, saying, "Nah, Jason was this way back then, and Jason is this way now." Like, so you don't know the man, so how dare you speak on his name like that? You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
anybody that knows me knows that I'm real about mine. I'm 100 about mine, and there ain't no way other to be when it comes to everything in your life, but especially to this subject. And now that I'm a father to 2 black children, and to hear their comments shows me how real it is. When you're 8 years old and you're 14 years old and you see how the world looks at you already, and you're terrified of people in uniform, when you were taught that, hey, if you get in trouble in any situation, you're supposed to be able to dial these 3 numbers and they'll come help you. You know what my kid's last thing will do? Dial those 3 numbers. That's the last thing they're going to do. I promise you. They're going to call us first. They're going to call us first. They're going to, don't matter what the situation is. And they'll say, if you feel like don't call the police. Don't call the police. Please don't. They shiver. They shake.
Like the one time
if
we
they
got
see police.
pulled over.
It's not supposed to be that way. It's
What
not.
what I want to go back to, and I know this conversation is just free, you guys. So it's not like I'm not really hosting. We're just having a conversation.
Right.
But you said you're a father
Yes.
to black children.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure they're mixed. They're half white and half black.
They're fully black.
They're fully black.
I took over.
Yeah.
I took over. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
But even if they was, they're still going to be looked at as black children.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you? I think you're
And
talking.
isn't that insane? Even if they were 50-50, they would automatically get put in a black category.
Exactly.
Because that's what they appear.
That is so hateful. That is so crazy. Like it brings so much emotion to me to like, because to be honest with you, it really got brought to light. Now I've seen it my whole life, don't get me wrong. But when I had these kids and I had a black mother telling me, hey, we can't do these certain things. Why not? Me just being me, why not? She said, it's just because we're black. You know what? Or I'll say something, she'll say, what color am I? You know what I'm saying? And I have to live with that reality that it's not the same for me
and he
anymore.
gets upset. He's like, well, that's not right. That's not right. And I'm like, I understand it's not right, but I'm not black. I'm not white.
She says there's nothing we can do about it. And I understand that you can't change your skin, but there's something we can do about this. There's something we can do. There's something we can start, and it starts with me or people like me going to the places we need to go to with you and get these papers signed. Vote these prosecutors that put your partners in jail and it was on some bullshit. Beat them up at the polls. Vote different. That's what sucks, is they don't highlight these other people that we really truly need to be voting for because they're inside the system. We only get highlighted one man. I'm sorry?
They don't highlight the legislative side of things.
And those are the people who make the decisions that affect the entire community, from black, Mexican, white, Chinese, all that. They make all the rules. The president don't make the rules for Dallas, Texas. The president don't make the rules for the city you're in California. He don't make the rules for the city that you're in. So what we have to do is we really truly have to do our research on who these people are that are able to sign these papers and keep the injustice going. The district attorneys, the prosecutors, because it's a systematic racism problem. That's what it is, straight up. And even if you're friends with cops, like you said, they told you exactly how they feel, regardless whether your friendship with them is there or not. They're gonna shoot you. They're gonna shoot you, and that is the biggest line of bullshit I ever heard in my life.
Badge, if that's the case.
So then my kids should never go to school because they're full of white children. They should never go to school.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of areas should be cleared. I should never go into a nightclub as soon as a white man walks in. You know, I shouldn't go anywhere. I shouldn't go to the mall, let a white man walk in. Everybody should just clear out. Because if that's the case, ain't none of us safe. The way that I see it.
We're not. And this is
if that's what they're basing this on.
They say, oh, if you're over a certain height, if you're over a certain weight, we're going to have to take you down like we would an elephant. They look at you like you're an elephant running through a China shop. You know what I mean? Like,
no, at least elephants are endangered and it's been protected.
Right.
I think that's the excuse too. And I understand my husband's big. Jason, I understand you're big, but I see.
Yeah, they call him Big Dog everywhere.
Yeah.
Why else told me that?
I just saw a video of a young kid. It looks like a kid. I want to say it was a girl. And it was in Citrus Heights in Sacramento. And this officer kicked him, socked him.
See?
Already had him pinned to the ground.
Are you talking about in Rancho, that 14-year-old boy?
So he wasn't 300.
Scare me.
He wasn't 320 pounds.
He was just a little kid. And the way that officer, if you look at that video, the way that officer was punching that boy, it was like, oh, I finally got me one.
Got one. Yep.
That's how he went in on him. If you really view that video, it looked like he'd been waiting for a minute to do it.
It's like they're hunting. It's like the deer they've been waiting for 3-4 years to come to that feeder again. And then they got him in public. They saw him on camera. Oh, there he is. I'm gonna get him this year. I'm gonna get him this year. That's how that feels to me. And I can't tell you, man. It's disgusting.
So I was we live in Elk Grove. We live in Elk Grove, California, and I was talking with I was in my work truck, and I actually was on a break, and I saw two cops, they're motorcycle cops, and we just started talking, having this conversation, and then the whole pandemic thing happened, but then we started talking about some of the officers on the force, and these are two good guys. You can tell they were good guys. We were just shooting the stuff, but one of the officers said, "Yeah, he said some of the guys that we work with, I wouldn't say anything, and I don't say anything to them outside of work. They're assholes."
Right.
Yeah.
My thing is, if they know that, I'm sure the organization knows that. So how do they allow that?
Why are they still there?
Right.
There's one guy.
That's the problem.
I forget his name, but there's one guy that everybody, he's notorious for doing a lot of things that it's legal, but he's doing some shit that's not cool, and he's been written up. From what I understand, he's been written up, and he has a file on him, but he's still employed and he's still working for
the problem.
Isn't that negligence?
It's what happened to the 3 strikes and you're out.
Hello?
You know what I mean? If we were to do anything at work, and we work regular jobs, if I get written up 2 times, I'm on my last leg. If I do anything wrong within the next 30 days or 90 days, I'm out of there. And I got to go find another job, maybe in the same field, but I got to go find another job. But how are these guys getting? Well, I think I know how, because I feel like the police force itself was built from being a slave patrol. Was it not?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the police force was built from being a slave patrol from the very beginning of time. And then what they said was, okay, so once we develop these laws for the slaves, we're going to carry the same thing over to the nation, as the nation got built on the backs of the slaves, or the black people. they slowly but surely infiltrated the entire system, planted nothing but white men all the way up until what, 1975 to 1980 probably, maybe, is when the first black man was able to be an officer. But whenever the first, actually in Atlanta, Georgia, there was 8 black officers that were the first black officers, I believe, in the entire police federation. And you know what? They had to wear YMCA uniforms because the white man did not want them to join them in the blue.
Mhm.
They didn't want to. They didn't want to admit that they worked with the black man. You know what I mean?
But they
And
wanted to
all
take the
those
credit.
guys were doing were knowing that they could help. You know, as a police officer, you're there to help people in times of distress, or you know, you need something, you call a cop or whatever. They wanted to be the first to show, I believe, to show the black community they had somebody to lean on. They weren't going to get beat up by a black officer. They weren't going to, you know, something of that nature. But to start with that and think that it was going to change all the way through till now, we were fooled. I
Yeah.
believe we were so fooled. And to think that the narrative would change was us getting fed lies our entire childhood all the way up until now. They put on this, so back the blue. They said police are your friends, and you know this is who you call when you're in some sort of trouble. They made you believe that all the way growing up. But look at the history, and history will repeat itself eventually. And history has continued to prove that time and time again. And here we are again. I feel like we're in 1960 again, and it's happening. But this time, it's a whole different thing, because in 1960, they didn't videotape people getting beat up. They didn't videotape black people in a restaurant just trying to enjoy a burger, go over there and get spit on and their burger smashed in their face and say, you don't belong here. Like,
That's what's making them angry.
that's
We
like,
weren't
did that
ever
to my
meant to
family.
last as a people. That's the
Mhm.
thing. This system wasn't designed for us. If you have
It
a home
wasn't.
and your foundation has a crack in it, your home is going to continue to shift, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
If our foundation is built on the Constitution, Black people in the Constitution were listed as chattel.
As what?
In the
Chattel.
census, when they came around and they did the census, and then they had your property that you own, Black people were listed as property until 1870.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
They were listed
Exactly.
as property. So if this is in the very folds and the foundation of your Constitution for the United States, and our freedom is
Right.
merely an amendment
Right.
Mhm.
to a
Exactly.
document, then why
Right.
would we ever feel as though that justice and that system was designed for us?
Right.
This system was designed for their comfort level. It wasn't designed for us. And as soon as we understand that we're fighting a system that was never designed for us, then our strategy and our approach will shift.
Yes.
But
I think
we don't understand that, and we don't get that. It's a justice system. It's not a justice system. It's the just us.
Yes.
White
Yes.
folks only.
Mhm.
People of
Say that.
people of non-color. It's
Say
a
that
just
again.
us system. In the
Right.
America KKK.
Right.
Right.
Hey,
Mhm.
And you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. And that's the thing, is like that's the conversation that needs to be had nationwide.
they don't want
Two
that
white people that are willing to listen. And I swear to you, I feel like there has been more white people listening here in the last month than I've ever seen in my entire life, that are willing to admit what's going on. They're willing to say, how can we help? That are willing to say, hey, what can I do to make this different? I got your back. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to start. And that's the shitty part, is because they haven't taken the time to educate themselves. They haven't taken the time to have a conversation with somebody about it. Because to be honest with you, knowledge comes from understanding. And once you understand it, then you can gain the knowledge, and then you can plan, you can plot, you can strategize, you can come together, and you can mobilize. And once you do that, that's when things begin to change. I believe that. I believe that you got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to admit that when my wife says I can't do that, it's because I'm black, or I can't do that. Look at, you know what color I am. We got kids to feed.
You got to be willing to sit in discomfort.
Thank you.
You have to be willing to sit in discomfort. I talked to my son's coach yesterday, and he's like, oh, well, they killed a white guy. The police killed a white guy in Galt. You know, he was, you know, he had been robbing, had been doing anything. I said, but the thing about that is that the All Lives Matter campaign was like in response to the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
A brother, a young man, he wasn't a black man, but he was murdered by the police in Stockton. And Black Lives Matter stood up for him. So it's not a black only thing. We're just saying that Black Lives Matter. We're not excluding anyone else. Black people are the most loving people. We're for everybody. Native Americans were the most loving people. You know what I mean? But
loving,
because of that.
And forgiving. And like you're tired of having to do that.
I'm not here to explain to nobody no more.
Right.
Like that's right. Honestly, it sounds abrasive. It may sound abrasive to people. You know, it was, you know, he asked me yesterday, like, oh, how are you preparing your son?
That's cold.
You tell me. I said, and I told him, because when we were doing things, I had told him, I said, hey, you know, my son, he doesn't stand for the anthem. Right. And he was like, well, here we do. Because he's a conservative. But you know what? Oh, I had to swallow something for my son's opportunity.
Right. And
so I told him, well, we got to come up with something.
You have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. You're tired.
What we shouldn't have to do, and I appreciate your voice, but what we live in a society, and it's like, as Black people, and this is no shade to you, we live in a society where our voices and our pain aren't enough.
No. And that's what I keep saying.
If white people gathered, if white women gathered, look at this whole Me Too movement. When white women spoke up about it, shit started happening.
Right, because it started with a black lady.
But our Black voice isn't enough. We have to have a white ally to validate what we go through.
Exactly. And that's sad.
So I'm not here to convince you otherwise. You know, we talked to Marcel. He's a Black man. He has to see that. I know what I see as a Black woman and a Black mother. I know what that looks like. I know that gets to my soul, because that could be my son. That could be my husband. That could be my dad. Right. But Marcel looks at that, and he sees himself on the ground helpless as a 315-pound Black man. Right. How does he process that? Right. And then someone feeling so comfortable to tell him at 315 pounds, just based on your stature, I'd shoot you.
Yeah.
That's a slap
in the face. Process this. And then go into the world, in his job, in his daily life, and still smile and shake hands, and with his good Christian heart and spirit, has to go on in this life and strategize how to navigate through this foolishness.
Right. And what happens, it kind of conditions you to just, I got to keep turning the cheek or looking past this ignorance and what they're saying. People, I work for a utility company, so we'll get call outs where I have to go to someone's house.
Oh, that's scary.
Go to their house. You call for help. I'm here to help you. They won't even answer the door. They'll look through the window. Just recently, we had one of the customers. I needed to do something in the backyard. I had the truck lights going with my uniform, with my little badge. I knocked on the door. I said, "Hey, I'm with this company, and I'm here to mark out a USA. You know, I need to gain access to the." And she just looked like this. Looked up, looked down, and as much as I wanted to, because it's a clear door, like it's a glass door, a daycare center. And just looked at me, and I just said, I'm out. I just turned around and left. But my point is, you're constantly reminded that you're Black. You're constantly reminded And it's like, shit, I'm here to help you. You don't want the help?
Right.
Okay, figure it out. But again, you have to. America constantly reminds you that you're black.
Yeah,
Like,
Sure do.
like every day you go in, I have to talk soft. I got to smile, extra hard, and then you got to like warm them up to, hey, I'm harmless.
Right.
I'm not going to do anything to
You
you.
gotta do extra.
And what I'm realizing is, your fear, that's your situation. You're afraid of what, and whatever you're afraid of, that's not me. So, you have to learn how to just be blind to it, and it takes a while. That shit is frustrating. It's very frustrating. And now we're seeing in America. I don't know if you guys seen with the Central Park lady that had the dog.
Yeah.
And
Did you see how that worked up on that?
Man,
Cold, ain't she?
And then a woman that pushed her child. Somebody recorded. She
that
pushed her
dangerous
in the water and drowned, and then called the cops and said 2 black men did it.
Yep.
It's like, and that's just the escape.
They know.
He had a gun. It's a black man doing like, and then also you gotta say these are key words to get you shot, arrested, and or into shit that.
And that's why I call this show, you guys, a war on Black Americans, because now it's not just the officers, it's so many people,
random civilians. Yep.
I mean, it's the civilians pushing their child into a water, killing their child,
drowned the kid,
blaming a black man.
Somebody had on video doing it.
Can I ask y'all a question?
A woman was stabbing somebody, and then they said that the black man did it, and somebody caught her on camera doing the stabbing.
So imagine that, right? You got the law that's going to back what they say, and the law is the example, right? That's what you got to abide by. When they set I say the law is a law, but the police, they enforce the law. So you got the people that enforce the law that are doing stuff that's crazy. Now you got the citizens saying, well, they're doing it. We can do it. It must be okay.
Right. It's okay.
So let me ask you this. Can I ask y'all a serious question?
Absolutely.
My question to y'all is, I feel like it's going to take a unified response, which means it's going to take us to have to open up the doors for y'all to get the justice that is deserved. Now, my question is, do y'all really, truly even want that? Or what do you need, or what do you want from us? Because I know that you cannot trust a lot of us in this skin. And there's no doubt about why. I understand fully and completely why. But my question, just for me personally, what do you need from me or from us to do in order to help this move forward and not be an issue, let's say over the next, because it's going to take some time, let's say over the next 10, 15 years for my children to be able to grow up without this amount of hate that is in this country right now.
That's a good
That's
question.
what I want to answer on that, because I think anybody that's white watching this right now, this is going to be the answer that they need to hear to help move this thing forward and help us unify and make these doors blast open.
I'm gonna let Marcel and Summer answer that.
I would say absolutely. I would say do what you're doing. I would say we need to work with the people that are white people that are willing to assist us in our mission and goal. That's setting pride and everything aside, because we tried it this far and it's got really nowhere. So now that we have the help, we definitely pride aside. We need the help. We need people to stand with us. We need people, because as powerful as we are and as resilient as we are, we need help.
Right.
Hands down, we need help.
Summer, what would you say?
While I feel that we shouldn't have to need white people to validate us, I'm very clear that in this system we do need a white ally. And just in your day-to-day, I could tell you, you are like one of the few, right? But I could tell you do what's right. But what's your perception of right? That's subjective, right? So like if I tell you just do what's right and be a good person, that's a subjective standpoint, because what I believe is right may not be what you believe is right. Right. I would say educate yourself, which is, it seems you have, but if you're relaying this to your white counterparts, I would say,
which is what it's going to take.
Right. It's don't ask people, what should we do? Well, shit, I don't know. I don't benefit from this.
No,
exactly. We don't.
I'm not asking. I'm not asking.
There ain't nothing we do.
I'm not asking what, like specifically what we should do, because obviously you've tried everything you can to, you know what I'm saying, to do what I'm asking to be done, and it hasn't been done yet. So I'm asking you, what can we do, or what would you like for us to do in order to help y'all bust these doors down and get your voices heard more than they ever have?
Then you do what you're doing. You write.
Right.
You know, you write, you post. You write and send it to your officials. You write, you know what I mean? Like, you stand up in a way. Maybe gather people that do think like you. Right? You can,
and that's what I was going to say.
It's the lens in which you look through.
Right.
And you're not looking through that systemic lens. You're not looking at us through that narrative that they've put out there and they continue to put out there. When you're in a conversation,
don't want to listen to him though, because they'll say, "Oh, you just saying it because you're white. It's black. You just saying it."
You're absolutely right.
But then go get your friends that's not married to a black woman who feel that way. And what I would say, and I wasn't going to answer that question, is because, listen, you guys, if you guys remember, white people has always stand next to black people. Go back to Martin Luther King.
I told him that.
This is nothing new, but we need more. We need more. It's always a handful. It's always for. We need the mass. So what I would say is that you go get your other white friends, and then your white friends that you go get their white friends, and then we go get the white friends that you guys really, who drive down the streets with the flags.
Yeah.
We need to gather we need it in the mass. We need the mass of to stand and do this. And we're going to go to Marcel, but then we have a list of questions. You guys, we're past an hour. I'm so sorry.
We didn't even realize
it's so good, and so many people is chiming in. But Marcel, what were you going to say?
Can I say really quickly? I'm sorry, Marcel.
No,
when he's asking me, you know, like, what can we do? Challenge those comfort zones. When the one thing that people don't, they respond to you going back and forth with them. But when you hit them with a question, it makes them think. Either it's fight or flight. It's human nature. So if they say, well, you're only doing that because your wife is black, you're absolutely right.
Exactly.
And
he does it.
Why?
So what do you suggest?
You ask them, why wouldn't I do that?
Right.
How can I love her and not identify with the pain that she sees? You're absolutely right. I'm doing it because my wife is black. And
exactly.
Hell yeah.
And watch them get stuck. So they're going to go home and they're going to, that's emotional intelligence I'm giving you right now. They're going to go home and they're going to think that thing through. And I guarantee you're going to get a call by week's end.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, and two, I think to even, you know, I agree with that, Summer. I would say, in addition to that, it has to be brought to a level of humanity. Like, my special interest is not just because of my wife, because this is who I am. This is the right thing to, as being a human, to look out for other people, to care about other people. And if you're only seeing it from your set of eyes and from your ethnicity or your background, you got to be more open-minded to understand and to see. You know what I mean? So what I was going to say is, I just kind of lost my train of thought because I really wanted to get that. No. Oh, what I'm saying is,
you need that pen and paper.
No. Hey, so again, you know, the people, the government represents the people.
Right.
We got to remember that. We got to remember that.
That's why we got Donald Trump.
Well, these people are in place, but they're supposed to represent us as the people, as the citizens of the nation, of this nation. So we got to keep that in mind as well. You know, the police, they you know, the people that we were talking about earlier that we vote for and all that, like, it's important that we are educated, because, you know, to be honest, the whole voting thing is important because power is more important than money. People that are in power make decisions for everybody. So just focusing in on those things because again, the government, they represent the people, and we got to take that back into our hands. And as you stand with us as the people, our voice will be heard. I believe louder and clear.
Right. And do you believe there's something we can do to I want to get to the point to where these community votings, like I said, the prosecutors, the district attorneys, and all that, I want to get to a point to where those are more highlighted than a presidential election, because the presidential election only happens every 4 years. This is happening every single year, and this is why it keeps happening, because I feel like a lot of these guys get re-voted in by default because nobody votes for them. You know what I mean? Nobody goes to those voting polls whenever those are up. Nobody knows who these people are on these little signs when you stuff 50 of them in a freaking 3-foot lot. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, how are we supposed to know who's making the decisions for our people? I feel like we need to find out how we can educate not only ourselves, but everyone around us to make that difference, because I guarantee you it would take 1,000 people to make a difference in one vote. And I know all of us have at least 500 friends on Facebook. So if we can find out who's getting voted in that year, how we can highlight each candidate, and then just say, hey man, take 20 minutes out of your day after you get off work, go down here, vote for this person, because this person wants to do what's right and wants to forward our community into the right direction. And I feel like if we band together and start that, it's a start. I'm not going to say it's
hold those people accountable.
And hold those people accountable.
You're going to do this. Okay, what are we doing?
It's going to start. I mean, I see a lot of people trying to teach that, trying to let people know, listen, it's not about voting for the president. It's about voting, these every Tuesday. I hear it all the time, voting locally, making sure that you know who your district attorney is.
You're researching these people that are running.
Again, we need to use our platforms to get our people to listen and to do it. And if everybody do their part, then we will have a system that's trying to become better, because now everybody's doing their part. You got to make sure that you don't have somebody who's not listening to, Marcel has his crowd of people that listen to him. The people, certain people is not going to be on his page, but that one person that might be in that other group of page might be on his page. And we get that one person to post, and we get that one person to talk about it, then now we took that one person and took it to a whole different group. And I think that's what to do is keep talking about it, keep using these social media platforms to really get the message out. You guys, I know we're already past an hour. I just wanted to get to a few of these questions. I kind of tried to bring them in and out as we was talking. A few people, we had Kiki said, good question. I don't think I ever heard anybody ask that question. With the question that you asked, what can we do? We had someone say, this whole nation needs to admit the wrong of our people. I'm not sure if that's ever going to happen, but
it's a huge wish, and I hope to God that it one day happens. But
it starts with you. It starts with you saying,
absolutely,
I'm going to admit the wrong that my people have done.
Yeah, exactly. You have to, and that's where it begins. That's where.
This person said, I appreciate this guy speaking for white people that they don't understand because they're not in our shoes. That was Miss Brenda. It's so many.
I wanted to say something about the power versus the money. And you said people have power, they're good with that. Well, that's clear, because how much do officers make? Right? But they stick it out and they stick around, and then they exercise their power like that individual, I won't call him a person, that individual did when he had his knee on George Floyd's neck. He needed that power. It does something to people.
Right.
He'll
Absolutely.
take a mediocre salary just to put his knee on
Right.
somebody's
Well,
neck.
it's a mediocre.
He's
It's
a
a
demon.
mediocre salary for automatic immunity of anything that would take anybody else's life away.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We don't get the free meals. We don't get to break the law and still go home at night and sleep peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
We got, if we break the law, we're going to sleep on concrete benches in a cold jail with people we don't know, and who knows what kind of demons they're carrying. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to do that, and I don't think most cops do. Now, when it comes to cops, it's sad. My kids do not see a good cop.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
My son was playing the head game. My grandmother's in the hospital, and my kids were playing the headband game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was in there visiting with my grandmother, and they were in the waiting room. She was sick, and my cousins came in. They were like, "These are your kids," and I said, "Why?" My son had the thing on his head, and my daughter was like, "They kill black people," and he's like, "The police."
Wow. And
that says a lot.
You know what?
That says a lot.
And I think it's way more now because that's all they get to see. That's all they see, and with the camera phones and all that. It's just like Will Smith said, racism hadn't gotten any worse. It's just getting filmed.
It's just getting filmed. That's it. Like Joshua said, gotta treat everyone the way you want to be treated. That's how you fix the problem.
That's subjective, though.
Our people need to be in a position to fund organizations to help communities, so our people can start being lawyers, doctors, law enforcement, judge, etc.
Right.
Beat the system by becoming the system. Beat the system by becoming the system.
You infiltrate the system from the inside and work it to the out.
Exactly.
That's what you do.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That's what they did.
You know what? And you know what else they need to do? They also need to keep. They need to hold these cops financially responsible for stuff like this that happens. So what I feel like they need to do is they need to take money out of their pensions, and I'm talking about like fund like money that would come to fund the police department from the city. Or no, starting from the government. So the government funds the city ends up funding the police state or the police force in that city. So if you go and you sign a contract to be a cop for that year, 2 years, whatever they sign for, you get hired. You're I don't know how the employment works, but I guess it's a year by year maybe. But you have to sign an agreement that says you are financially responsible if anything happens underneath your supervision, or a death, or you cause something of that nature. What we're going to do is we're going to take out money from your pension to have to go back towards the community that gets burnt down or protested against and all that, and then so on and so forth. So now you're financially responsible for anything that you may cause underneath those 8 hours that you have to work. And
now you play with their money. They might get when you shred their money,
when you shred their money
today, I gotta pay you.
It's sad, but I mean, if you cause $1 million worth of hurt, and you take a father from their kids, or you take a son from their mother, and that's going to trickle all the way down, because what does that do? That financially fucks that family up. Excuse my language.
No, go ahead.
If you're the provider and you get taken away, your job may not have the greatest life insurance policy, because I know me as a plumber, even as a licensed plumber, they will only give us $30,000 for death on the job. So I have a $30,000 life insurance policy. Do you know how much $30,000 will last about 6 months around here? You know what I mean? So if I'm a cop,
Texas living.
You know what I'm saying? Right. That's if you're not going to work at all, you'll spend that 30 in no time. But as a cop, if you cause $1 million worth of damage, I think you should be held responsible for that $1 million, and that means seizing their assets. That means doing whatever you have to do to recoup that million. And I'm talking take from their pension for the entire amount of time that they worked. Let's say they were a cop for 15 years. They got a little pension built up. Well, guess what? You start taking that from each officer in the force to add up to $1 million. You got to pay that.
But make sure that the statement says payable to George Floyd's children.
Exactly.
And I feel like if they did that, that would start something. That would start a lot more thought process when it comes to pulling that gun out of that holster. I guarantee.
They would think twice if they know it's a consequence.
They don't have a consequence. That's why they don't think.
Exactly, because they don't have consequences.
Listen,
he actually responded back to you, Summer. Go ahead and read it back.
It's only objective to the people. I mean, if people that the officer would like to have his own neck kneeled on. If so, his own desire justified his own action.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate it was subjective. Yeah.
I didn't say it was objective. I said it's subjective.
Yeah.
And I think I know where you were going with that. You were saying not how people want to be treated, but how they maybe need to be treated. Because some people,
it's subjective. What I may need or what I view as proper is not what the other person may feel or be. That's why I said it's subjective. I didn't say it was objective.
Right. Yeah, I heard you say
truly objective. We would take all of our feelings out and we would look at it for what it is. Is it right or is it wrong?
Right.
Like, just miscommunication there. I think Joshua's a good guy.
I didn't say he was a bad guy. I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah. That's my friend.
Josh isn't a bad guy. I'm your friend too. Josh is not a bad guy. We got our words. I didn't get my words mixed up.
Hey,
He did very wrong.
I didn't realize he pulled up that picture. I know Josh. I played baseball with Josh, so he's actually tuning in I sent it or shared it. And so I played ball with him. That guy's
that's it, Josh. You got it right.
Hey, Josh is a teacher. Josh is a coach at one of the high schools. But that guy has been a super God-fearing man the entire time I've known him. He's witnessed to a lot of people. He stays in church. He keeps that. But I think he got them words mixed up because when he said objective,
I'm good. Josh is a good guy. I got it.
I heard you say subjective.
Right.
I heard you say that, Summer. So I was like, what is he talking about? When I seen it,
when I saw objective, I knew
subjective, not objective, but I see where that's coming from. But just in his defense, he's a good dude. So y'all are right.
Josh is a good guy.
Yeah, he's good. He's all right. He's with it. He's fighting the power with us.
And I appreciate him tuning in. And we need him to stand
commenting.
Right.
We need people like him to post.
Right.
What I will say is I'm gonna let Jason speak directly to white America as we end this show. And also, I want to bring you back on again. I love you and your wife. And I think you guys
I love you and your husband.
Right.
Hey,
love all y'all.
We're friends to the end. I love you too, Summer.
And Josh too.
For real, that's what
Josh should come to the party too.
Hey, for real. Hey, California has been one of my destinations I've always wanted to come.
Lord Jesus.
So hopefully we can arrange that one day,
Not while Rona.
She's on that Rona, so we can't do it while the Rona. And Rona needs to go on home. She done overstayed her welcome, hasn't she?
Right.
Golly.
You're more than welcome. So I can't wait for you guys to come to California. We're definitely coming out to Dallas soon.
Come on with it.
Come on down here.
We want to bring you back on this show to start having more discussions because I believe we can use these platforms to kind of get these messages out. And I really love what you said. So I want to get that over to somebody and see how can we implement that some type of way. So go ahead, Jason, talk to white America really fast for us. Close us out.
Before he closes us out,
Go ahead,
he asked what he could do, and I was sitting here thinking, because you know my brain be moving, Shari. So, you said that in Dallas the chief of police is a Black woman,
Yes.
and you want to use your privilege, right, in a way that is beneficial to us. I would challenge you, the way you wrote what you wrote, to write to her directly, to reach out to the department in all your whiteness.
Right.
I'm serious.
That's
reach out to these officials. Write specifically to her and ask her, what are you doing and why don't we hear your voice?
Right.
Because you never really hear the white man challenge.
Right.
This Black woman in her position, like, okay, your community, this community, and I stand with your community. How come I don't hear your voice? Please help me to understand.
Right.
That is, I would just challenge you to do that. And it may not happen today or tomorrow or the next day, but just if you could, find a way to reach out to her.
I feel like emails would be available somehow, some way, and she has to check her email every single day. And so I just have to have a perfect subject title to really grab her attention, because I'm sure she looks over a lot of it. But
and we could also do a video that will go viral. Again, you talking directly to her. She'll get it.
Do that. Hey, I'm with it. And a lot of times, the ideas of this really like, it scares people. But I'm to the point to where I have 2 children that have to grow up in this now. And I wasn't alive in the 60s, so we didn't get to grow up through that. But now I feel like now we are in the time of those times again. And my kids are going to have to go through it if I don't do something about it. If I can use this privilege to do anything, I'm going to do it to protect my kids from having to fear every day that they wake up. But instead, when they walk out of that door, I need them respected. I need them regarded as humans. I need them looked at as some of the most powerful people on this earth and smartest people on this earth that nobody wanted to give a chance. But if I can do something to change that, we're going to make it happen. I promise you. And that's a good way to start, Summer. I appreciate that. I really do.
Let's make it happen.
Let's get that done. So, Jason, go ahead and close us out. Tell white America what we need from them.
So what I need, or what they need, what we all need from you, white America, is we need understanding. We need conversation. We need education. And I challenge every single one of you to educate yourself, starting back with the beginning of slavery. And I want you to see how it was created. It was created not only in America, it was actually created by a British man who came over here and said, hey, I've already built an army of slaves. Let me show you how it's done. So they went and they got their their gerbils, and they ran a test run, and they said, this is how you're going to control the black people who come into or the people that you choose to put under the slavery. This is how you're going to be able to control them. Do your research. Learn your history.
Is that the Willie Lynch?
I'm sorry? Is
that Willie Lynch?
I believe so. I'm not sure his name, but I know he's a British guy who actually started, said, hey, you have to take away the man first. So what they would do is they would rip the man's arms and his legs off in front of his entire family. That's why you see such a powerful spirit in a black woman. Ain't nobody like a black woman. Ain't nobody like the amount of resilience and the amount of they're not scared of anything, because it's been like that from the beginning of time.
Yep.
They have had to take the entire family and raise them from the beginning of time. You know why? Because the white man took away the most powerful, the leader of the family, which is the man who has to go out and hunt for the food and gather and provide and do all that. The woman takes care of the household while he's gone and all that. But the thing is, they had a strategy. They brought the strategy to America and they applied that. And when they applied that, the rest is history. You know what happens from there. But the thing is, educate yourself. Ask your black friends what you can do to help. Ask your black friends how did it begin? Where did it begin? The other thing is open up your eyes. Like, watch around you. Walk into a place that is known for more black people to come into than white people, and watch how you get treated versus how they get treated. Walk into a white establishment with a black friend and watch what happens. Open up your eyes and watch. And then also, you need to stand up and you need to speak out. You need to type something that you feel emotionally, but have facts to back it up. And put it out there to the world. Show people that you aren't scared to stand up for Black Americans, because you know for a fact they're the only race that is getting treated the way they do, and that have been treated that way for this entire time. And you got to stop denying it. Stop living in denial that it does not happen. It's the reality. It's so real. And I swear, if you do not wake up, then you'll be the one getting left behind. And you'll start getting treated that way by the rest of America. I promise you. I promise you. The veil is going to get lifted, but it's going to need to start with us as allies. And we're going to have to start speaking up and speaking out for our brothers and sisters, because God did not intend this. And we all got to answer to him at the end of the day.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Open your eyes and your hearts.
And your hearts. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I said eyes, ears, hearts. For sure. I think the opening up your hearts is opening up your hearts enough to understand, enough to educate yourself, enough to realize, like you said, when you went to that lady's door and she didn't even give you a chance to help. And you went in there with every intention, regardless if that's your job or not. Your job is to go and help somebody in that situation. She didn't even give you a chance. That's what I'm talking about.
It happens.
Open up that door. I know it does, and it's sad, man. It's the most frustrating and infuriating thing, because I got a lot of brothers, man, and I say that with the fact that, like, we're a team. We make money together, like, and we call each other. And you know what? Before we hang up the phone, I love you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the fact of the matter is, I don't say that to a lot of my white brothers. You know, like, for some reason, I'm spiritually connected to that community more than I ever was with my white bros. You know, like, it's weird, but that's just the way I feel about it. That's the way I feel, and they have more of the spirit of God in them than white America. Let's just be honest. It's the spirit of God runs rampant through your veins. So,
man, this conversation can go on and now we've been on for an hour and 30 minutes.
Wow.
I apologize. We lost a few. Usually people only can stay on for about an hour. That's it. And then they start chiming off. Yeah. But again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you guys for being on the show today, Jason and Kimberly and Summer and Marcel. We're going to do this again. I'm not sure when, but hopefully soon. Kimberly, I want you to talk more, because I can just see it. You got so much fire inside of you.
He probably gets tired of me talking.
I want you to, and I really encourage you guys, and I'm going to talk to you guys offline. I encourage you guys to start your own platform. Start
we've been wanting to do that.
So whenever this girl, she's a good friend of hers, she said, you know, God, I don't even know where to start. I said, let's start our own.
Yes.
Like, we have. I mean, you got to start something. You got to start somewhere.
And
I'm a meeting of the minds and make it happen. And I mean,
I'm here to help you. So we're in it together. Okay, cool. I just put myself for you. So I'm going to
Appreciate
hold you accountable, and we're going to get this started. Okay.
Let's go.
You guys, thank you for tuning in to Level Up with Wilson. Until next time.
Jason, you my dog, bro. Give me a shout.
Hey, nuts, baby, nuts, baby. Hey,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't see it. There you go.
it's all good. Yeah.
Give me that.
Bye, you guys. You guys have
Thank you, Summer.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.